It is Wednesday night, East Lansing, Michigan. Come on in, gather around. My name is Jim Comparoni, publisher, SpartanMag.com, part of the On3 network, SpartanMag.com. Going to be talking Michigan State football as we have been all week and all summer and all winter and all spring and all summer and all winter and all spring and all summer and all winter and all spring, all the way back to 1990s. And we're still doing it. Michigan State 3-0, going to USC this weekend. Going to answer some mailbag questions here at Spartan Mag Live. Recorded version of it again. Might be able to get back to a live stream at some point, but we're going recorded right now. Might get a call from Big Movie. Not sure. We're having trouble getting our schedules aligned, but very happy with the questions we have this week over at the Underground Bunker message board, which is the church of what's happening now with Michigan State sports. SpartanMag.com, with some subscribers, Michigan State fans from all over the universe, post questions talking about all kinds of things, Michigan State football and all kinds of things. No politics, but everything else pretty much fair game. And over there at the Underground Bunker message board, I ask Michigan State fans to pose questions that we will answer here, mailbag style, Spartan Mag Live, as we get ready for week number 4 and the kickoff of the Big Ten football season. Tackle football, the manly art of tackle football, college football, flavor of it. Big Ten style, starting for Michigan State again this week in an unlikely location, Los Angeles, California, Los Angeles Coliseum, 11 p.m. kickoff time. A lot of talk about that. A lot of angst, and deservedly so. These college football games. I heard Joe Rexrow today on a talk show on the Tim Stout Show in Lansing. He was talking about in college football, there are so few games, only 12 games. Why have a start this late? He made a good point. NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball makes sense. You're playing 80, 162 games, road trips. So, you're going to have some night starts. But even in Major League Baseball and NBA, I think it's 7 p.m. Pacific starts, not 8 p.m. But that's part of the small print. If you wanted the Big Ten to be bigger with a bigger television package, a lot of Michigan State fans and Big Ten fans were all excited and proud that the Big Ten contract was bigger than anyone else's, making more money for the schools. Well, this is the fine print bullcrap part of that. Those teams coming in from the West Coast, a lot of great programs. They want to have night games. I guess they deserve that. They're part of the conference, whatever. But the networks, they want these things also. So 11 o'clock on Fox. Game will be decided around 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. That will have an impact. You can say, well, these are college kids, like Jonathan Smith said. They're night owls. They can handle it. That's what you say to try to put a positive spin on it. But no, it's going to be an impact. Whether it's a 5% impact on this player, a 7% impact on this player, a 20% impact on this player, a 3% impact on that player, a no percent impact on this player, but a 7% impact on this other player, and a 9%. There's going to be impacts across the board. And you have to be a much better team to go out there and win. In general, you have to be a much better team to win at midnight or 2 a.m. It's going to be really hard for Michigan State to do that. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but more as we look at this roster, this team, and Michigan State and what they are at this point. And we got some questions in that direction, and we'll be talking about that momentarily. But first, let's talk about Schupan, our sponsor. Schupan, as you know, Michigan State's recycling rate has fallen from 90% to 73% in recent years. Michiganders are squandering $105 million per year by not taking back their cans and bottles. That's hurting our environment. So help the environment, help yourself. They're your beaches, your lakes, your roads. So help those beaches, lakes, and roads. Take them back. Take them back. A message from Schupan, a great Michigan company dedicated to recycling and dedicated to your Michigan State Spartans. Thank you to Schupan for your sponsorship of SpartanMag.com as well. Michigan State 3-0. Question number 1, I could do 45 minutes on question number 1 and number 2. So here in the mailbag. So let's see. We'll dive into those right now, those questions. But first, one more sponsorship we want to talk about really quickly. Rowback, the Michigan State collection. You guys have seen the quarter zip, Michigan State, the Rowback stuff. It's unbelievable. Which way is it? It's that way. That one right there. It's a good one right there. Then you got the white one over here. Right there. These are good things. Rowback, make sure you check it out. Join the party. It's good stuff. Rowback, there's only one way to describe Rowback. Actually, maybe two ways. Best fit, best feel. And for those who are not familiar with Rowback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rowback has released some great new licensed items within the Rowback Game Day collection. There are new novel polo designs and clean hoodie designs, Q-zip designs from some of your favorite schools, including Michigan State. It's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing this level of custom designs with this quality of activewear, and not just hoodies and quarter zips. Check out the everyday shorts and Delta Performance pants. Super comfortable, elastic waistband, great fabric. Rowback, it's the best. That's RHOBACK, RHOBACK, rowback.com. And here's the code now, 20% off. Write it down, listen carefully. MSU20, MSU20. MSU20, 20% off. Put that in as the promo code for all new customers. That's spelled RHOBACK.com, rowback.com, MSU20, 20% off. All performance hoodies, polos, shorts with that code. Check that out. And we appreciate support from Rowback as well. All right, question number 1 has to do with the running game. We're looking at Michigan State and what needs to be better this weekend as they get ready to play USC. Michigan State's run game was encouraging in the first 2 weeks of the season. Then against Youngstown State, all kinds of problems. Yeah, Michigan State rushed for, what was it, 174 net yards, Aiden Childs with 76 of those from the quarterback position, some of the one quarterback draw and 2 or 3 designed keepers. Those are real yardage, but I'm talking about tailback yardage. That's how you really judge the entire blocking unit in a lot of ways. I know the quarterback keepers, they were doing some duo blocking, and that was pretty good. But tailback runs, not good in this game. Michigan State ends up 174 yards rushing. Elijah Tolliver with 37 yards at the end, kind of mop-up duty with 4 carries. Looked good on a 22-yard touchdown. Youngstown was a little bit gassed at that point. But Braden Tullis, 4.4 yards per carry, 7 carries, 31 yards. Mekhi Frazier, 12 carries, 22 yards, only 1.8 per carry. So tailback runs, you've got 4, you've got 11, 22, 23 tailback runs. 23 tailback runs. 7 of the 23, they gained 0 yards or tackle for loss. 7 of the 23. So, hold on a second here. As you know, tailback runs was a problem last year, tackles for loss was a problem last year. Not a problem in the first 2 games, but it really crept up as a problem here in game number 3. So, as we like to do here at SpartanMag.com, we're going to dive into it, find out where the problems were, and any commonality in those problems, and what are the chances that those are going to remain problems going forward. It is a problem. The run game has to be good for the rest of the unit, for any offense to prosper, especially Michigan State. So much is built off play action, counter boot, rolling them out, waggles, all those things. Got to get the run game going, get the safeties creeping in, I formation, going deep. That's what they want to do. So the run game is so important. And again, pretty good net numbers, 174, but how much do you really want to be using Aiden Childs in that regard? We talked about that in the VCast after the game. The Michigan State fact of the matter is Michigan State's running quarterback counters, quarterback keepers in the fourth quarter. Don't want to be doing that. In the meantime, give us a like here on the channel, subscribe to the channel, SpartanMag.com YouTube channel. Make sure you do that. We really appreciate that. That really helps. So, on those 7 stoppages, took a closer look at those stoppages, but first a comment, Jonathan Smith, when he's talking about the run game problems. Jonathan Smith, quote, said, we got to break a couple tackles, talking about the running backs. Got to break a couple tackles. One-on-one with the safety, got to break a couple tackles. Also, misidentification took place too many times. That's blocking, misidentifying who you're supposed to block or when you're supposed to come off on double teams. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also, Smith said, and we're just not getting the type of movement we want to get, unquote. Movement, just displacement from the blockers, the offensive front. Brian Lindgren, offensive coordinator, said, quote, there were some runs that were mistargeted, unquote. That gets back to what Smith was talking about, misidentification, mistargeted. Who are you blocking? Where does the running back take the ball to and cut back to, and landmarks and so forth. Lindgren said, quote, some of that we lost a one-on-one battle, unquote. So a combination of all of it, not breaking tackles at the running back position, losing some one-on-one battles, mistargeting, misidentification, all of it shoddy, not good enough. They'll all agree with that. It's got to be better. So let's take a closer look at those 7 stoppages. 7 run plays out of 23 tailback runs, 7 of them. 7 out of 23. They gained 0 yards or lost yardage. And you're playing Youngstown State. And they had some guys battling and doing a pretty good job, but still it's an FCS opponent. Shouldn't happen. And it's discouraging. But I will say, this gets into question number 2. How problematic is this? I look at Illinois 10-0 at halftime against Western Michigan. We talked about this in the VCast yesterday also. Ohio State against Ohio University. Trouble with Ohio University. It's 6-0 late in the second quarter. Ohio State pulls away, but that's kind of lethargic by Ohio State, lethargic by Illinois, lethargic by Michigan State. These are college players, college athletes. Each of those teams had a big test and passed the test. Ohio State passed the test with Texas. Then they played another game after that. Then this one before Big Ten season starts, and they're kind of hitting the snooze button. Illinois passed a pretty good test at Duke. And then I think they played someone else, Western Illinois maybe, I don't know. Then they play Western Michigan and kind of hit the snooze button. Michigan State passed a pretty good test with Boston College. Now they're playing an FCS team the week before Big Ten starts, and they kind of hit the snooze button. So some of it might just be lethargy because based on the schedule and just not being up for it. Jordan Hall said after the game we were a little bit flat on defense, a little bit flat. I don't usually accept that as a reason for a team to not play well, but in this case, I think there was some flatness. So we saw them do much better against Western Michigan. Is Western Michigan better than Youngstown State? Yes, I'd say so. Although Youngstown State's they're pretty scrappy, pretty solid in some ways. All right, run stoppages. The first one of the 7. 1st and 10, own 40-yard line, loss of 1. This one was a loss of a one-on-one battle. Talking about different categories. We got categories of loss of a one-on-one battle. We got some that are just kind of a read decision. We have some where it's a missed target, where maybe you're not climbing out properly. We've got 3 that are no movement, and then 1 that was structural outside zone, and 1 or 2 that was like just a read decision. And this one's a one-on-one battle. One-on-one battle. This is the first drive of the game. Tight zone left to the field, to the strong side, 2 deep safeties. Sometimes you'll hear that the run game failed, and you're like, well, they had 8 in the box. They're selling out to stop the run. Youngstown State was not selling out to stop the run. On a couple of these plays, they were. On a lot of them, they got 2 deep safeties, sometimes 2 deep safeties with a nickel in between them. And Lindgren said they showed some looks they'd not seen before. I suspect that was one of them. Kind of a Mike Hankwitz Northwestern deal. So they got guys back to stop the passing attack, and they're spying on Childs, not letting him get out to carry it. And they were kind of making the run game beat them, and the run game couldn't beat them. Usually it's the inverse. Stop the run, blitz, and make the quarterback beat you. They did the inverse, and it pretty much worked. That being said, Michigan State had the ball 10 times, and they scored on 7 of 10 possessions. So Michigan State didn't totally get shut down, but the run game did. And Michigan State had to go to some uncomfortable methods to move the ball, like the fourth quarter, Aiden Childs keepers. 1st and 10, tight zone left, field side, strong side, 2 safeties deep. And the safeties were not in on the tackle. This is a loss of 1 on 1st and 10. Stanton Ramil, a lot of talent, and he's been a little bit of a mixed bag this year. Pass protection for him was really good against Boston College the entire game. Then he had a couple breakdowns late, just 1 or 2. That's what people remember. On this one, he allowed a half yard of penetration to the defensive end. Defensive end is number 42, Michael Votis, 6'1", 240. A 6'1", 240-pound defensive end from Youngstown State. And he's 2-gapping Ramil. And the DN fired out quickly, made first contact. Low man wins. First contact wins. All these technical things. And Stanton Ramil, who's got a lot of talent and a good kid, on this one was beaten. First contact, gums up the play, loss of 1. Ramil had some other pretty good plays, but I'm not sure it was a coincidence that Stanton Ramil only played 37 snaps in this game. We were wondering about the health situation. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about it, but Rustin Young came on and played 26 snaps. Now, did Stanton Ramil go to the bench because they're not happy with some of these things, or is there an ailment there? We don't know. But Stanton Ramil's a good kid, and I'm sure he looked at that film, and that's not good enough. That's not what they need. And when they talk about 1st and 10, the run game not being good enough. That's an example right there. And that's a loss of 1. They're trying to get away from losses of yardage in the run game, especially on first down. And there it crept up again. All right. 3rd down and 6. This one was also in the first quarter. Frazier again carrying the ball. 3rd and 6. All right, on this one, it's 3rd and 6 at Youngstown's 35-yard line. Michigan State comes up, lines up, and Michigan State has to burn a timeout because Nick Marsh was not up on the line of scrimmage. He was kind of inquisitive. He wasn't sure if he's supposed to be up on the line of scrimmage or not, and they called timeout. Come out of the timeout, exact same formation. He's up on the line of scrimmage. This time, before that, Youngstown was kind of in their base defense. They go in timeout, and they probably said if they come on that same formation, we're going to mug up the linebackers and do this or whatever. Michigan State came out of a timeout, exact same formation. Some teams won't do that. If you show something before a timeout on offense, call timeout, you come back out and you're going to the next play. We're not showing them that formation again because there might be some tendencies tied into it. They might know the tendencies. They can cue some things up. So Michigan State comes out exact same formation. They change their defense. They're mugging up their linebackers and they end up blitzing. They didn't blitz a lot in this game. Youngstown did not. And they're mugging up 2 linebackers, 1 safety deep, blitz the nickel through the B gap as the 7th man against 6 blockers. Michigan State comes out, they have 6 blockers. It's 7 defense against 6 on the offense. Untouched, made a tackle on a zone read, a loss of a yard. So whose fault is that? No one got beat in terms of physically blocking. I'd have to look at it again. I've watched it once or twice, but I never really thought about it as to whether the quarterback should have kept it. There might not have been much there for him either. I didn't check to see if there was an RPO attachment to it. Michigan State doesn't do a lot of that, although I did see an RPO once in this game, I thought, for Michigan State. Didn't verify that with coaches, but it sure looked like one. So that was a structural thing. They just got outnumbered. Now, if you're outnumbered, then should the quarterback be able to get you out of the play, especially coming out of a timeout? Should have enough time at the line of scrimmage to make that work. But we see Michigan State come out of timeouts and the play clock is already down. So I didn't really look to see what the play clock was at that time, but Childs has gotten better, they say, at getting out of the wrong play into a more positive play. That was a situation where maybe he should have kept it, maybe he should have changed the play, maybe Michigan State should have changed formation before that play. All of the above, tackle for loss on 3rd and 6. Yeah, and I understand what Michigan State's trying to do. It's 3rd and 6, 35-yard line. They're thinking 4-down territory. We're out of field goal range. We're going to run the ball and maybe get it to 4th and 2, maybe even pick up a first down on 3rd and 6. Michigan State has a pretty good success rate at running on 3rd and long. They did it like 3 times against Michigan last year, picking up first down yardage. So they were going to, I don't think that Michigan State was like looking to gain 2 to set up 4th and 4. I think they probably thought they could pop 1 and pick up the 6 yards or get to 4th and 1 and go for it. So they're thinking 2-down territory here. But instead they lose 2, sets up 4th and 8, and then Aiden Childs ends up picking it up 4th and 8 on a scramble. But that loss of yardage, need to be tighter, need to be better there. Second half, the other 5 stoppages are all in the second half. And this, I mentioned this in the VCast, this was Michigan State's low point of the game, in my opinion. We don't mean to stress the negative here, but this was the first question of the mailbag, and this was something that Michigan State's been working on all week in practice, so why not talk about it? And no one's going to have a deeper dive on it than SpartanMag.com. So let's check it out. And we're hoping that Mubi will call. I'm not sure if he will or not, but the line is open for him, and we'll see if he calls. We hope he does. If not, maybe we catch up with him on Thursday. Anyway, the low point for Michigan State, coming out 17-10 lead, and Michigan State's like, we are going to establish the run. We're going to hammer the run. We're going back to the run. And they go 1st and 10, first play of the second half, and they get stopped for no gain. All right, we're running again. 2nd and 10, stopped, no gain. 3rd down, little screen, they lose 5, punt. 3 and out with 2 unsuccessful running plays against Youngstown State. Low point of the game. In some ways, maybe the low point of the season at that point. I don't mean to be hyperbolic about it, but this is a team that wants to get better and better, establish more and more physicality. Didn't get done in this day. Maybe that lethargy we talked about a moment ago had something to do with it. But anyway, first play of the second half, 1st and 10, 2 tight ends to the right, 3 deep, corner safety, 8-man front. So they are outnumbering the box. Smart by Youngstown State to anticipate that Michigan State's going to want to come out and hammer the run. First play of the second half, Youngstown State goes 8-man front to stop the run. They didn't do that a lot through the course of the day, but they did it right there, and they guessed correctly on the shell gain at that point. As Childs gets more and more experienced, and he is experienced right now, but you count 8 in the box. I don't know if Michigan State's got a total check with me type of offense. They say they do in a lot of ways, but can he check to a pass in that? Maybe they're working on that. Maybe those are some of the next steps. But on this one, the failure was an inability to climb out to that linebacker level, and also the running back was not great on this one. It was Frazier. Inside zone to the right, Right tackle, tight end, double team. That's Connor Moore and Masunis. They got pretty good movement on the defensive end. So the movement's pretty good. But once you get that movement, then the next part is you're, double team on one guy, get the movement, then somebody has to climb off to the next level, linebacker. They climbed out to the inside, and the linebacker actually escaped to the outside. So I think that's what when the coaches talk about mistargeting or misidentification, that's what this one was. The double team was there, but they didn't communicate it or ID it well enough to know who was supposed to come out onto that linebacker. So when you go a double team, we'll talk about this later, if you're spending 2 blockers on one player, you have to come off of that, because if you're spending 2 on one, then the numbers advantage usually goes back to the defense. So this one didn't climb off correctly. That linebacker escapes to the outside, got in on the tackle. Frazier kind of danced around a little bit rather than just running up the tailpipe and getting forward. He probably could have gotten 2 yards, but he did a little more dancing, and got stopped for no gain. That's the first play of the second half. Now, Frazier, first game of the year, boom, he was driving it with physicality and authority and determination. It looked like a good running back, quick. And, as the season goes along and you get 2 and 3 games of bumps and bruises, maybe not quite the same downhill vigor. And on this play, didn't quite see the same downhill vigor from Frazier. So they need more of that when he comes back. Not sure if he's going to be healthy this weekend or not. That was the third one. So that's execution. Double team not identifying and climbing out. Nobody was beaten physically, but execution. Running backs got to hit it harder, and they got to ID it and climb out better. Some people are asking me about video, whether we can show video on this. Well, on this SpartanMag Live and our site, we monetize some of these things, so there's some commercials here and there, and it's an important part of our business, of the cash flow, which helps pay for travel and the pretty good bench of writers we have at SpartanMag.com. Paul Konodike, associate editor for a number of years. Jason Killip, recruiting anchor for SpartanMag.com, doing a great job. Jason, really love working with him. Love working with all these guys. Jake Laskawa, great writer for us. Kenny Jordan doing some good things for sure all the time. Very reliable, good guy. All these people are good guys. Rico Cooney, of course. Am I forgetting anybody? Cast of Thousands. Of course, the great Matt Dorsey with his intel over at the Underground Bunker message board. Dorset Cleese, the Wise, following recruiting for a long time. Always love catching up with him. But so we monetize this website, and if we're going to monetize it, we can't show television video, because it's copyrighted. You can show copyright TV video if you don't monetize, but this is the way we built this thing, and that's the way we do it. But I'm hoping I can describe these to you in a way that makes sense. It'd be great to have the video too. And over at the Underground Bunker message board, sometimes I'll put stuff up on the Underground Bunker, some video here and there. We can use video there if we put it up here on YouTube and don't monetize it. But when I do that, the film room, those people, it's popular with the people that click on them, but they really don't get a lot of views. It's not like there's thousands of people checking those out. So if there were more that viewed those, I might be inclined to do more of those. But gosh, these work weeks go by so fast. Can't believe it's Wednesday already. Really wanted to do this on Tuesday. But in order to do this right, I got to spend a lot of time with the film. And it's hard to get that done on Sunday, because I'm usually sacked out from working all night on Saturday night till 5 or 6 in the morning. Sunday's tough. Monday, we're right back to press conferences. Press conference Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're covering those things. So it's a little bit hard. Then there's some, you're trying to do family stuff and keep up with that also. So we're getting to this on Wednesday night. Anyway, all right, play number 2. Where are we on this? All right, the next play. All right, this is the first 2 plays of the second half. First one, no gain. Second one, no gain. 2nd and 10. Michigan State's in a nub formation, which is 3 receivers to one side and tight end to the other side, tight to the formation. 4 across, 2 deep safeties. They're not going with 8 in the box. They're not stopping the run, telling them to stop the run. The play before this, they did 8 in the box. This one, it's 2nd and 10. 4 across, 2 deep safeties. The box is light. You have 6 offensive linemen against 5 defensive linemen. You've got a +1 advantage in the box. 6 offensive linemen, 5 offensive linemen and a tight end against 5 in the box. No gain. Zone read outside to the left. Stanton Ramil did a good job driving his guy off the line of scrimmage by 2 yards. Caleb Carter got stood up by linebacker Mike Wells. Mike Wells, 6'3", 250, stalemated him at the line of scrimmage. No movement. When they talk about no movement right here, Caleb Carter didn't get movement. I thought Caleb Carter was good against Western Michigan, surprisingly good. Their best offensive lineman possibly in that game. Pretty good against Boston College, too. Caleb Carter not as good in this game. Gulbin, center, didn't really find work, was not covered, and was thinking about double teaming with Carter for a minute and then turned and then didn't end up blocking anybody. Not that that's a mistake or anything, but it was a 6+5, but the +1 was the center, and he really didn't get work anywhere. Now, why didn't he join Carter on that one? Now, remember back in, I think, the Boston College game, no, it was the Western Michigan game, one of the sacks, Ramil had number 11 there, Tucker, the real good defensive end for Western Michigan. Ramil had him, and Brocious was like looking to find work. He was uncovered, and he knocked him loose, ended up being a sack. So I'm wondering if that crossed Gulbin's mind, like, I don't want to hit and engage here. I might knock him loose. I'm not sure, but he thought about it, but didn't end up engaging. But Carter got stood up, didn't get any movement, and Omari Kelly, wide receiver, did not block the nickel back. Kelly was the number 3 receiver, the innermost receiver of the 3, and did not block that nickelback and was late. Nickelback gets on the tackle. So some of that is mistargeting, misidentification. Omari Kelly and then Caleb Carter didn't get movement. The combination of those on 2nd and 10 run play, even with a 6 versus 5 advantage in the box, Michigan State gets stopped for no gain. And that was a really disappointing one. And then 3rd down, get pressure with the 4-man stunt, 5 across, and Childs scrambles and didn't get the 1st down. Second drive of the second half. This is the 5th out of 7 stoppages for a gain of 0 or less or worse. No gain. P and 10, first play of the drive. Offset I. Cover 3. So again, 8-man front. A lot of times, first play of the drive, they're going 8-man front to their. They guessed correctly on the shell gain, and Michigan State didn't check out of it. No gain, no movement, no climb. Right guard, right tackle, double team. That's Moore, and I don't know if Vincic was still in there or not. I'd have to look to see who that was. Darn, I don't have that part of it. But double team. The double team did not climb out to the linebacker, and the linebacker Marshall shot the A gap, gets in there. I don't think it was zone. It looked like duo. Most of the actions going to the left. Caleb Carter did not climb out to the middle linebacker. It's 7 versus 7 on a box. 7 versus 7, if you get hat on a hat, running back should be able to make a move and get to the safety level, but they didn't get a hat on a hat. Didn't climb out on one and didn't get movement from Carter. So no movement, no climb on that one. That's the first play of the second drive. 6th one, 2nd and 10. Own 35-yard line under center. 2 tight ends to the right. Loss of 2. This was mistargeted and no movement as well. And Michigan State was 7 versus 6 in the box. Michigan State has an advantage, 7 versus 6. If you can't run on 7 versus 6 against Youngstown State, you really need to go back to the film room and practice room. That's why this was so disappointing. 7 versus 6, and one of the 6 comes upfield unblocked. And 5 across deep in the secondary on 2nd and 10. Duo, center, right guard, double team. Caleb Carter stuck with his double team, didn't climb out to the linebacker level. That linebacker was number 3, Wells. He shot the B gap with ease, unblocked, misidentification. And the right tackle, Connor Moore, was good against the defensive end, but the center, right guard, double team. I think Carter must have been at right guard at this point. Yeah, Carter must have been at right guard. Carter stuck with the double team a little too long and didn't get out to the linebacker. So the double team, and he's got to let go of that in order to maintain a 7 versus 6 advantage. But that one guy shoots the B gap with ease. It's a mistargeted misidentification, plus not enough movement elsewhere. That's what happened there. Then the 7th one, this is the 4th quarter, 7th and last one on no gain or less, no gain or worse. 1st and 10 own at their 45-yard line, 12 minutes to go, loss of 1. This is a structural one. No one really got beat on this play. I formation, 7 versus 7, 2 safeties deep, 7 versus 7 in the box, outside zone to the strong side. Michigan State hasn't run a whole lot of strong wide zone. The wide zones a lot of times open up the alleys for some of those tackles for loss. And it seemed like against Western Michigan, the wide zone was a little bit tighter than it was last year. This one was wide again. And Michigan State had 5 blockers on 4 to the strong side, but 2 against 3 to the weak side. It's 7 versus 7 overall, but it's 5 against 2 out here. 5 against 4 out here to Michigan State's advantage. but it's 2 versus 3 disadvantage on the backside. And on the backside, Brocious as the guard cut blocks his guy. Now it's 1 Ramil. I don't know if it's Ramil or Rustin Young, but the left tackle now has 2 guys to account for him, and he can't block both of those guys. It's outside zone, and they shoot the B gap from behind, and it's a tackle for loss. So I don't know, as Childs gets more experience, if he's supposed to come to the line and say, okay, outside zone here, numbers wise, it's not going to work. Do we really want to cut this guy? Let's take it back to a tight zone. I'm not sure, but as Childs learns more and more, and he is learning, maybe there's just some of the plays that he can get out of more successfully. But I'll tell you what, if you have this happen too many times, when almost a third of your run plays, 1/3 of your tailback run plays result in losses or 0 yards, then you're not beating Minnesota. You're not beating Iowa. You're not beating Michigan. You're not beating USC. You're not beating Nebraska. All these swing games, and USC is not a swing game, but you're looking to pick off 2 of these games along the way. You might not even beat Maryland. You got 3 wins right now. You're probably going to beat UCLA. Maryland, at the end of the year, they got a dynamic new quarterback. We'll see what that looks like. But you're thinking you can get to 5. But right now, Michigan State is underdog on 7 of their last 9 games. And you're trying to get to 6 wins to get to a bowl game at least. So you have to upset somebody. You have to win at Iowa or win at Minnesota and so forth. Win at Indiana. It's not happening if your run game is like this. So back to the drawing board this week to work on some of those. There was a couple that were a gain of 3 that were similarly problematic. 1st and 10, second drive of the game, own 47-yard line, gain of 3 on this one, under center, 2 tight ends, 2 deep safeties. Looked like a man blocking scheme. Velling and Connor Moore each gave up some penetration. And Frazier had to veer to the outside. Safety came down, made contact at 1 yard, and Frazier did well to gain 3. But Velling gave up penetration. Connor Moore gave up penetration. 3rd drive of the game, 2nd and 10, their 40-yard line, another gain of 3, but a little bit problematic also. Michigan State with a man advantage in the box. Shotgun, 2 deep. And the nickel isn't deep middle also. So it's kind of a 3 deep back there, 2 safeties plus the nickel. 2nd and long, that's what they were doing. Michigan State runs a counter with the left guard and the H pulling. That's Velling. Brocious pull, log block at the end man of the line of scrimmage and turns and logs him. Velling is pulling also, but blocks the same guy. Maybe that defensive guy was starting to slip off, so Velling joined him. But the minute the Velling joins Brocious, logging that guy, now you're spending 2-on-1, and now you lose your man advantage in blocking. So that erased the numbers advantage. Middle linebacker unblocked. Nickel flows fast. They meet the running back Frazier at 3 yards, gain of 3. It would have gotten out for better against that. It's 2nd and 10. They're deep. Michigan State runs the ball. You should be able to pop it for at least 5 because it's a passing situation, pass posture defense. And Michigan State with a hat advantage, and they squandered it. So those are the things that need to get cleaned up. Question number 2, NJ from Northville, Michigan says, I'm more inclined to think the offensive line from weeks 1 to 2 are more representative to where the run offense actually is compared to the Youngstown game. He says, what they were doing run blocking in the first 2 games didn't seem like fairy dust. It looked very solid. That's what NJ from Northville says. NJ from Northville says, we can't ignore the Youngstown game, but do you think that was more of a bad game or a bad sign? Good question from NJ from Northville. I brought his question up to number 2 because it pertains to what we just talked about. The question, what you're asking, is going to be a big determination on where the rest of the season goes. Last year, Michigan State looked pretty good in a lot of ways with a pass rush, run game. A lot of those things dissolved as they got into the Big Ten season. So I can see reason for angst and concern with the run game taking a step back last week, but I'm more inclined to think that it was Michigan State just not being sharp and being a little flat. Again, I point to what Illinois and Western Michigan in the first half and Ohio State and Ohio in the first half. Now, Michigan was great against Central Michigan, of course, but Michigan's coming off a loss. You come off a loss, being flat's out the window. You're frothing at the mouth to get another shot at somebody. So I'm going to say there was some flatness there. But a reason for concern, I can't tell you one way or another. I can't sit here like I can. We've watched Izzo coach for 30 years, and they might have a flag game circumstances. And I can sit here and say, don't worry about it. Defense is going to get fixed. Rebound is going to get fixed. They're going to run. Can't guarantee that the shooting percentage is going to get better, but they'll get better shots. You can guarantee all those things. We watched that team for a number of years. A lot of times they've got a personnel advantage too. Now, I'm not really sure, but we're going to learn a lot, and it certainly was a step, a negative step. And they know they've got to work on it. So now they're playing an interesting defense out in USC, and we'll see if it's any better. As far as USC goes, nice, big, lean, strong athletes everywhere, and excellent with the pass rush. All kinds of pass pressure. They're big on pressure, bringing extra people, blitzing. I heard from a friend of mine talking about one of their analysts is of the Rex Ryan, Buddy Ryan ilk. They're going to be coming at you, pressures, blitzes. So Michigan State's got to stay out of second and long. Got to get something on first down run plays because the blitzes are coming. And when they do, Michigan State's ability to handle those pressures, unproven. But if you can handle them, USC is interesting on defense because they're great with the pressures and the sacks. But they gave up over 300 yards passing to Purdue. Ryan Brown looked really good. I was surprised how good Purdue looked in that game. And USC was a lot of off coverage. I got to watch it again. A lot of big cushions, and they were getting some yards out of those. Now it was 17-3, and Purdue got a fluke touchdown on a trick play that was so bad that it kind of ended up working, and makes it 17-10, I think. And USC was up by 2 touchdowns most of the game. But Purdue had, 4 turnovers in the red zone. They got down to the 5-yard line, interception in the end zone, got to the 20-yard line. Was it deflection, defensive tackle, interception, trucks back 70 yards for a touchdown. You may have seen that one. It's 14, maybe a 10-point swing right there because they're in the red zone. And then later in the game, down to the 20 and threw an interception. Was there 3 turnovers in the red zone? So if you're counting what could have at least been field goals, that's 9 points this way, 7 points that way, and the pick six, 16-point swing there. Or a 28-point swing if you want to look at it that way. Purdue moved the ball, and they were real close to being right in that game. And USC's defense is impressive with the pressure they can put on you, but why were those receivers so open for Purdue? And then second half, USC tried to tighten it up with more man-to-man and press man-to-man, and Purdue was getting people open on slants. So the pass defense for USC needs some work. Now, USC is playing on the road. They had a 3-hour, 4-hour weather delay, so it wasn't perfect conditions for Purdue. Now USC's coming back 3-0. They'll be fresh as a daisy back home, and USC will be better than the USC we saw in West Lafayette last weekend. So let's go to question number 3. John Dawson, Columbus, Ohio, says Michigan State has wilted in the second half of West Coast regular season games multiple times over the last 20 years or more. You saw it happen again last weekend, particularly with Boston College against Stanford. Do you see this game with Michigan State and USC being fairly close in the first half? And then do you feel Michigan State will have enough gas at 2 a.m. to keep it closer than the spread? I think the spread's about right at 17. I think Michigan State... if Michigan State's probably going to be without or a reduced level of their best receiver, their best running back, and a kickoff returner who's an impact guy, and a guy that I thought was their best offensive guard. If all those guys are healthy and the game is at Spartan Stadium kicking off at noon, I posed this question at the Underground Bunker message board. What do you think this point spread would be? Most people thought 6, 7, 8. I thought probably 4 or 5. And then I watched the USC Purdue game and what USC's doing and some of the highlights of the other games, just the athletes that are on the field and the way they're operating on offense. And I think if they were playing at noon at Spartan Stadium and all those guys were healthy, I think USC would probably be a 7.5 point favorite. So I think the time playing out there looks to me like I'm just guessing. I think it's worth 10 points. And I think playing at 2 a.m. I mean, I watched Minnesota cave in. I watched Boston College cave in after 1:30 a.m. last weekend, and Michigan State's really up against it. So I'm not bullish on Michigan State's chances in this game. I've been wrong before. I was wrong last week. I thought Michigan State would really destroy Youngstown State. Didn't happen. I thought Michigan State was going to be quite a bit better than Boston College handled the line of scrimmage. They did, but then they handled it in the run game and stopping the run, but pass protection and pass rush. And then Boston College with the 52 Marble, a guy that I hadn't seen on film. You get that early in the season. Someone might play 14 plays against Fordham, and then they come out and they're getting off blocks and making plays. And number 52 for Boston College did on a couple plays, drawing holding penalties. But so I've been wrong a couple of times here in the last couple of weeks. Maybe I'll be wrong again. Question 4, Chris from South Lyon, Michigan. He says, Jim, what's more important heading into the USC game, pass rush or correcting gap assignments on the defensive line? Defensive line gap assignments aren't a problem. There was the 166-yard play that got out, and Smith was talking about they didn't have the B gap covered, and we talked about it a little bit in the articles right after the game. Pulliam was blitzing off the edge with Ade Willie, and I've been asking around a little bit. I guess that was correct, but Michigan State should not have been in corners over. I talked about corners over, but looking back at it again, they didn't have 3 receivers and the tight end over there. I was talking to somebody today, and they said with Nub 3 over here and tight end to the tight, they didn't want to go corners over on that situation. The next time they did it, Michigan State had corners over again, and then they did it again, and Michigan State did not have corners over the next time. So when they say they're misaligned, one of the corners, it was Malcolm Bell that went over and played on the inside of that. Apparently that was one of the mistakes. Or they just don't want, don't want to pile on other players. Anyway, it's not the defensive linemen. Defensive linemen are playing well. Defensive linemen playing well against the run, playing well, holding, being sturdy against blocking, and the blocking they're seeing has been okay. It's going to be better in this game. USC, a lot of times they'll pull the backside guard and tackle on some of those counter sweeps, so they'll bring an avalanche of athletic offensive linemen at you, and how you jump gaps to keep all those gaps sound will be something new and something difficult in this game. It'll be tougher in this game than we've already seen, but it's not been a problem so far. Michigan State's allowing 2.5 yards per carry right now. That's number 3 in the Big Ten, or number 4 in the Big Ten. They've allowed 193 yards rushing on 75 carries. Of those 193 yards, 66 were on that play right there where Michigan State mistakenly went corners over, and then they didn't get the gaps filled over here. They blitzed off the edge, and they brought 2 to the field D gap. And like I said in the VCast, that's like having 10 defenders on the field if you have 2 in the same gap. Not only that, the corner over there left him a gap short. And if you're watching the game on TV or live, they hand it off and the guy gains a couple of yards and there's nobody there. And I know you're thinking to yourself, why is that guy so open? It was a misalignment. It was a mistake. 66 yards. Pulliam was on the field. Was he supposed to blitz? I didn't really get that one straight, but Jordan Hall's not on the field for that one. Justin Denson's the safety, misses a tackle at the 40-yard line. In this game, Mike, we were speaking with Joe Rossi, defensive coordinator, today at interviews, and he said they're going to shorten the bench a little bit. He was asked if they're going to, and in a roundabout way, he said yes. Got to get their best guys on the field. They spent 3 games giving guys a lot of auditions, getting them on field, getting their feet wet, also saving some of their frontline players, but also taking inventory of what they have in the 2 deep and 3 deep in some instances. And it may not be as good as we thought it might be, or the coaches thought it might be, but some guys got some chances, but now they have to go back with the first stringers. You're going to see Hall, Spencer on the field more, Nakai Martinez more. Amorion Smith has done pretty well here early in the season, although it looked like he suffered an upper body injury of some sort against Youngstown State, had shoulder pads off in the second half. But now he goes back to being a second-string safety, and that's a pretty good second-string safety. But pulling him on the field, was there a mistake there? Not sure. And then Denson misses a tackle. But now you're going to see less. You're going to see a shorter bench now, especially knowing that you've got a bye week next week. So you can go all out now. You got a week of rest after that. But you're going to have to be really good to hold this one within 2 touchdowns. But that 66-yarder, Jordan Hull's not on the field. Malik Spencer's not on the field. Or Spencer might have been on the other side. But you have Denson out there. You take away that 66-yarder, which I realize you can't. It counts. But if you take away that 66-yarder, Michigan State's averaging 1.7 yard per rush this season. 1.7. That would be top in the Big Ten. You can say, well, you haven't played anybody, but Western Michigan was supposed to have a good running attack coming out of last year. And Western ran a little bit better against Illinois than they did against Michigan State. Youngstown came in with a quarterback averaging all kinds of crazy numbers, and I realized that's against FCS competition. But they kept that quarterback run in check. And you can say, well, Michigan State didn't play great competition. True, Boston College may not have had a real good running attack, but every team in the Big Ten has had 2 cupcakes and a reasonably challenging game for the most part, except Penn State and Indiana. So everybody's kind of had a similar schedule in some ways, yet Michigan State's number 3 in the Big Ten in run defense, and I think it's going to stay like that most of the season. That doesn't mean they're going to stifle USC, because USC's got the number 1 offense in the country. They've only punted 3 times this season. You can play good defense against USC and give up 31 points. People need to understand that. USC is going to score touchdowns. They're going to move the ball. They've got a 6'4" receiver and a 6' receiver. Lane and Lemon, they're excellent. Maeva, the quarterback, is excellent. The running back is excellent. The tight end is an NFL guy. They're excellent. So they're going to score. They're not last year's 7-6 USC team. You give up 31. Can you score 32 and beat them? It's going to be tough. You're going to need a defensive play, special teams play, but you don't have Alante Brown. Going to need some electricity from Aiden Childs, but increasingly defenses are really setting out to either spy on him, contain him one way or another. If you don't have Nick Marsh, really tough. Don't have 100% Nick Marsh, really tough. You have a 70% Nick Marsh and he plays, bless his heart, if he tries it, but it's going to be tough. So it's not gap assignment problems on the defensive line. Defensive line's playing pretty good. Pass rush needs to be better, but Shalik Calhoun's not walking through that door. But Anello Lafayette is showing some signs of being a good pass rusher someday. Redshirt freshman. I know it's Youngstown State, but the last play of the game, he turned the corner, ran the hoop, cut it back inside with the agility that is what you're looking for in a pass rusher. He's got it. Jalen Thompson a little bit. Will Golston didn't have it. Will Golston was a great defensive end in college, goes to NFL. He's in a 3-4 scheme, but was never a guy that could run the hoop. That's why he was drafted into the 3-4 scheme, because he couldn't play pass rush in a 4-3, 4-2 in the NFL. He was a 30 guy, taking on, like a 5 technique inside rather than an outside edge guy. Still valuable, excellent pro. I'm not saying Anello is going to be a pro, but I am saying he's got some run the hoop ability that is a rare commodity, and it's a valuable commodity, and he's got it. He plays on third downs now as it is. He was on the field once in a run play and held up pretty good on a run play. They ran it at him. So there's development going on there. You'd like to see that guy turn 21, 22. Right now I think he's 19. So pass rush needs to be better, but Shalik Calhoun's not walking through the door. Anello, they're working on him. Moa, they're working on him. Santiago's not bad, showing some pursuit, quickness. Isaac Smith, not really showing much yet, but the run defense is pretty solid. D-line's been pretty good. And I'll stop right there and I'll go over, we used to do something called the Hot 11. The Hot 11 is our choices for the top 11, the Hot 11 players from Michigan State. Totally unscientific, but if I were to go Hot 11, I'd go Aiden Childs, of course, 22, 29 through the air, 270 yards, ran the ball, all the stuff, real good. Nick Marsh only played half the game, 6 catches, 94 yards, but I got him in there also. Jack Velling, his best game as a Spartan, 6 catches, a real nice one down by the goal line, stretching up to get it. The blocking is still a little hit and miss. I think better than last year, needs to continue to come along there. Jordan Hall, 4 tackles and a sack. His snaps were down, but I've got him in the Hot 11. I got Jalen Thompson, number 5. You remember when Youngstown scored, then Michigan State threw that interception where it, it's kind of deflected and they intercepted on the 17-yard line. They're looking to cut it to a 7-point game, and Michigan State's defense bowed up at that time. Who bowed up at that time? Jalen Thompson bowed up 2 straight plays. The very next play, 1st and 10, gets a tackle for loss. Takes on a pull guard on a quarterback power, took it on, set the edge, maintained leverage, disengaged, tackle for loss of 5. Michigan State ran a defensive tackle stunt on that play, and they didn't I don't remember them stunting a whole lot through the course of the game, but they did on that one. But Jalen Thompson showed up on that first play, loss. Now it's 2nd and 15. Next play, 2nd and 15. He's on the field side, defensive end, and bull rush and body lean disengage, rip, body lean on the late pressure. Got held, but it wasn't called. And Isaac Smith played more of a down defensive end on that play, and Jalen Thompson was more of an up edge on that play. Disengage with a rip, body lean, late pressure, and completion. So Jalen Thompson with a pressure on that one too, and showing some hoop, some body lean on that one that haven't seen a lot from him, but back-to-back plays, Jalen Thompson, really good right there. Hot 11, number 6, Alex Van Sumer, 28 snaps. Jonathan Smith talks about him being steady Eddie in there. He's solid. You don't see him getting moved out of there. He's battling, doing a good job. Dunnigan, I thought Dunnigan did some good things. I got him number 7 on the Hot 11. Let me look at my notes on Dunnigan. Where are you at? All right. He got a quarterback pressure on a 1st and 10. Red zone, Youngstown's first possession, 1st and 10 in the red zone. Slanted inside, beat the tight end, got a pressure on the quarterback. So you're saying they're not getting sacks, but that was an important pressure in the red zone. Later on, 3rd quarter, 2nd and 2, 5 minutes left. Scores 31-10. Outside zone to his side. Engaged heavy, engage. And then disengaged, made a tackle, gain of 1. Grady Kelly did a good job also slanting penetration to spill the play. Also Dunnigan, I give him a plus play. These are helmet stickers, unofficial. Playing defensive end, 2nd down and 2, 8 minutes to go in the game. Rip and pressure, quarterback scrambles, gains of 4, but he did a good job with, I think the rip came late. He long-armed him, got a body lean, and then I think Rip turned the corner a bit, but he long-armed him and got a rip in there and turned the corner a bit. So turning that corner, you're seeing that from Dunnigan and Thompson more than they had last year. It's something that's really hard to develop. A lot of these guys are either born with it or they're not. Thompson and Dunnigan are guys I didn't have in that category last year, but they're showing glimpses of that now, which allows you to get home and finish and get some pressures. And I know it's a team that doesn't collect a lot of sacks. Got a couple in this game. Didn't, had that string last year when they had 6 games without sacks. But those guys, Thompson and Dunnigan, are a year better, and I've got them in Hot 11 this week. Number 8, I've got Omari Kelly. He's got 4 catches and 1 on a big 3rd down. That was good. Michael Masunis blocked pretty well. Had 1 catch. It was the touchdown on an out and up. Give him credit on that. When he scored a touchdown, got to put him in the Hot 11. Rodney Bullard, he had a 17-yard catch on a 3rd down, getting his foot down, difficult catch. I loved Childs on that play, too, because on that play, was it cover 2? Had to have been. He had a flat defender, and on that one, I think it was 3rd and 5. And Childs kind of hitched out here to get that flat defender to move up the sideline, which opened up the high-low cover 2 hole. So Hitch opens it up and goes straight to Bullard. And he's covered pretty well, but accurate for a great athlete to go up and make a really good catch. Put the ball where it had to be, but also open it up. That was Youngstown played good defense on that. And Childs and Bullard, you just got to tip your hat and say, these dudes play in the Big Ten and we don't. That's pretty good. Bullard made that catch, had a touchdown run on that end around that I'm not really sure why that guy was loose. I looked at it and I didn't really blame anybody. But he made that guy miss, carries it in for touchdown. So Bullard had a touchdown on a run, that 70-yard catch. I got him in the Hot 11. It's hard. I had trouble because I've got like 14 guys I want to put in here. Wayne Matthews, I've got him number 11. He had 10 tackles. He got beat on that 3rd down and that slide route, late leak, tight end. Gets out for about 20, 25 yards. But 10 tackles is 10 tackles. Matthews pretty good, number 11. Also, Matthews, one play when he's taking on a pull blocker. This was a plus play that I thought was one of the best plays I've ever seen from Wayne Matthews. It was 2nd and 10, 3rd quarter, 10 minutes ago. State's leading 24-10, so it's still a game. And they pull the tackle, and he takes on the pulling tackle, defeats the tackle, and then he makes the tackle. So defeats the tackle, gets off, makes the tackle on 2nd and 10 when the game is still a game. And in my notes, I'm like, that's maybe the best play I've ever seen from Wayne Matthews. And the slide route thing was a 3rd and 1 man-to-man and got outrun by a tight end. That was not great. I'm not sure if the corner got influenced out because he's in man-to-man. I'm not sure where the other safety was. Honorable mention, not in the Hot 11, Anelu Lafayette. Talked about that sack at the end of the game. Also, there was a 3rd and 8 in the red zone opening drive. He's on the field for pass rush, but Youngstown State ran outside zone quarterback sweep right at Lafayette. So he got wide took on the tight end, fought him off, got upfield, set the edge. Jalen Thompson pursued from the backside, made the tackle. Forced a field goal. They go down 3-0. But 3rd and 8, they ran right at Lafayette, and he didn't get caved out. He played the run, did a pretty good job. And you had that sack on the last play of the game, and he had a pressure on the second to last play of the game with a stunt inside. So Lafayette's honorable mention. Malcolm Bell, honorable mention, hot 11, made a mistake on the corners over, misaligning there, but had a nice pass breakup on 3rd and 2. Outside technique, gets a wide receiver on a short spot route. Short burst over the top, knocks it away. Nice job, Malcolm Bell, playing with range. Also good job versus the run on a zone read keeper. It's hard for the wide receivers to block him. Did a good job with that. The other corner, Josh Eaton. You're not seeing Eaton and Bell show up on highlights a whole lot. People aren't throwing at them a whole lot. They're doing a pretty good job. Josh Eaton, good coverage on a deep go route, 3rd quarter on 3rd and 8. 5-man rush. And most of them from the boundary, trying to overload the boundary. Nobody got home on that one. Lafayette dropped and spied. And Jalen Thompson didn't quite get loose, and neither did Moa. So the ball's arriving, and Eaton did a good job with coverage on that one. Grady Kelly, I got him as an honorable mention also. Mentioned one of those plays he had earlier. And 2nd and 10 on that play where Wayne Matthews, the play that I thought might be Wayne Matthews' best play as a Spartan when he defeated the blocker and made the tackle. Elsewhere on that play, Grady Kelly split a double team, penetrated, and got initial contact on the ball carrier. Grady Kelly playing well. So Michigan State wins the game. I got a hot 11 plus 4 honorable mentions. So I want to mention those guys. Question 5, V for MSU from Ferndale, Michigan. He says, what is your sense of Jonathan Smith's commitment to Michigan State? Alan Haller's gone and UCLA just opened up. He says D'Antonio was all in as Michigan State's coach, and you knew it. Tucker was also until he went full scumbag, but I felt like he was all in. I could be off base, but I don't sense that from Smith. That's a question from V4 MSU from Ferndale. I think the longer Smith is here, the more he's liking it. It's just a feeling that I'm getting. I think he's getting more loose, more comfortable. I'm hearing good things from people around him that he and people around him are enjoying Michigan, mid-Michigan, even more than they expected. They're liking it. It's a good place to raise your family, all that stuff. These guys have young families. Smith's a competitor. He came here to do a job, get a job done. He's not going to want something on his history, on his resume that says that he went to Michigan State and it didn't work out. UCLA, yes, he's from Pasadena. In 1975, do you leave Michigan State to go coach at UCLA? Yes. In 2025, I don't think so. It's a tough job. The entire enterprise, as Rick Neuheisel likes to say, it's not quite fully supported. Now, if Smith was miserable here, if he were miserable and he thought that there was less of a chance to win here than he thought, and if he didn't have the administrative support that he thought, and some of that was a little bit shaky last year, but it might be getting better now. It is getting better now. The new athletic director, everybody seems to be on board. I'm not going to say it's thick as thieves. This is not Hollis, Izzo, and D'Antonio, but they're getting to know each other. All these guys are pretty competent, but I don't agree with you that he's not all in. He's all in right now about coaching today, recruiting today, coaching for today, for tomorrow's practice, for Saturday, to win on Saturday. So he's into it, and honestly, I do think he's liking it. Family life, home life, a lot of it more than he thought. That's only a part of it. I mean, if I'm UCLA, I call his people, his agent, and find out if there's interest. But right now, I don't see Smith looking to. I don't see it the way you're seeing it. Now things can change, and people will leave anywhere if they don't feel appreciated. So if the people above him rub him the wrong way, which I've not seen the case, but people will leave if they don't feel appreciated. I don't think that's the case right now, but I'm not in there on all the war room meetings. Don't know for sure. Question 6, but I do think that he's liking it. I think there's signs of that. Everything from his press conferences are a little bit more informative and loose, comfortable, running out with the team, his radio show, the way he talks to his players, all of it is just a little more comfortable. Question 6, Maverick 12 from Cleveland. He says, assuming Malik Mekhi Frazier misses this game. Who is running back 3 this week? Who's next up on kick return? Good questions. If Frazier's not out there, got to believe that Tullis is going to start. Tolliver's number 2. Okay, who's number 3? The number 3 running back hasn't always gotten a lot of work. You can probably get by with just 2 this week, but you have to have 3 ready. Jace Clarizio, they're high on him, but he's missed a lot of time in practice and training camp and whatnot with an injury that they call a nagging injury. I think he would have been right in the mix to compete a little bit. I'm not sure how durable he is. He's still a young guy. I've heard some people talk about his running style's a little bit upright, needs to change some of those things, needs to mature and so forth. Haven't heard a lot about Zion Gist, the other true freshman. It's pointed out on our message board that Krishan McCray was a running back in high school, but you're not going to have him play running back because you need wide receivers right now if Marsh is questionable. McCray's going to have a bigger role. I'd point out that Bryson Williams, the freshman from Orchard Lake St. Mary's, played running back in high school, and I wouldn't doubt him getting a chance in warm-up to maybe rep. I don't know if he'd play in the game, but if something happened, they need a third running back, maybe someone like Bryson Williams could do it. Question 7, Sola from Westland, Michigan says, now that we've seen Michigan State and the rest of the college football nation for 3 weeks, what's your prediction for Michigan State's win-loss record for the 2025 season? That's from Sola and Westland. I thought there was a better chance at 7-5 after the Western Michigan game. And I thought there's a slightly better chance for 7-5 after the Boston College game. Some of that was a little bit, the way Michigan State was able to grit it out and win that game was impressive. Aiden Childs was impressive. But I thought Michigan State would handle Boston College a little easier. But I still thought 7-5, getting that one out of the way. Now, after the Youngstown State game, I'm taking it back towards 6-6, especially with the injuries with Marsh. Does he come back? How much will he be full gear for the rest of the year? I assume okay, but we don't know. Frazier, can he be full gear the rest of the way? I don't know. Vincent, you're always going to get injuries, but this rash right now dampens my optimistic for Michigan State. That can turn around quickly at some point. You go out and you play well against USC, get a week off. Last year, after they went west, took a week off, then they played their best game of the year against Iowa at home. This time, week off, then Nebraska gets a week off, then they play at Nebraska, both teams with a week off. We'll see what Nebraska looks like against Michigan. I'm still hanging towards 6-6. That means you got to win your winnable games against UCLA and Maryland. You got to get an upset somewhere. Minnesota's not great. Can you do it there? Possibly. Iowa is not looking as good as a lot of people thought, but it's still hard to beat them, especially there. Especially after you beat them the year before, they're going to be really lathered up for that. You'd rather catch Iowa a little bit, with their guard down a little bit, which is what Michigan State did. So finding that 6th win is not going to be easy. You got to win your last 2 winnable games and find an upset somewhere. So I'm saying 6-6. After the Western game, I thought, maybe they got the goods to go 8-4 because, Minnesota didn't look so good. Nebraska didn't look very good against Cincinnati. They looked better since. So I don't know. There's going to be some close ones, though. Good news for Michigan State. They hammered out the close one against Boston College. In order to have a good season this year, everybody said Aiden Childs has to step up and take it up a notch. He's taken it up a notch, maybe a notch and a half. The tight ends needed to be better. They're better. The kicking game had to come around. It surprisingly looks pretty good. Connington looks pretty good. Offensive line needs to be markedly better. It looked that way against Western, didn't look that way against Youngstown. Run game has to be good. These running backs that we never saw play before have to be pretty good. Frazier runs for 103 against Western Michigan. Ran hard, ran with vigor. That looked good, but didn't look so good last week. So, pass rush, you knew it was going to struggle. I'm not saying it struggles. It's not like it's terrible. You have some guys getting loose with some hurries here and there, but it's not going to be an area that's a positive difference maker. And I don't see that changing this year, but keep an eye on Anello for the long term. Maybe as the season goes along, he can break loose and get a couple sacks, which would be pretty good considering he only plays about 13 snaps a game, but usually on third downs. Question 8, Spartan MD from sunny West Bloomfield, Michigan. He says, if a bear wears shoes and socks, does it have bare feet? He says, if a bear wears shoes and socks, does it have bare feet? Depends on the way you spell it. So the answer is yes and no. Question 9 from Canton, Michigan. Honestly, very disappointed in the defensive coaching staff on this one, he says, and very disappointed in Coach Mihalchik. More the fact that our offensive line is not wearing knee braces when that should be absolute. All right. First of all, knee braces, I don't think anyone wears those anymore. People have been talking about this on the message board. Now, I've kind of lost track of that, so I'm not sure. Anyway, Josh from Canton, Michigan also says, what is Joe Rossi going to need to do in order to keep his job here? Seems like a good scheme artist, but your whole pass rush can't be relying on one position, the stand-up edge. So what changes need to be done in order for him to stay here? That's Josh from Canton. Josh Canton, he's mad as hell. He's not taking it anymore. I like Josh from Canton. Anyway, Rossi, he's not relying on just one player to be the pass rusher. The rush edge can do it, but the rush edge also drops into coverage maybe 2-3 times a game. They also need pass rush from the down defensive end. They also need people to press the pocket inside. So they're not just relying on one, to use your word. That system can work if you got the right Jimmies and Joes. So you need some guys that are going to defeat, block, rip, turn the corner, spin, whatever they have to do. Need some guys to get that done. Question 10, Sparty97 from Shelby Township says, Comp, anything from Jay Batt on how NIL is looking with the big donors? We need talent. That's Sparty97 from Shelby Township. He's had meetings with donors, but it seems to me Michigan State is raising money to help support that $20.5 million cap, and they're operating with that cap to be NIL. And anything above that is going to be within the rules and within market value. And I think they're relying on the clearinghouse to stop some of the NIL deals that are not fair market value. But I continue to say, for instance, Bryce Underwood reportedly getting $10 million. If the clearinghouse flags that and says, no, that's above market value, they'll take that to court, and Underwood's people are going to win that one in court. So I don't think the NCAA clearinghouse is going to have any teeth on this. But Michigan State right now is operating, as far as what I can tell, with that absolute 20.5. They're welcoming other businesses to sponsor players. I think some of those are going to be in place. But, Jimmy Joe Oil forking over a ton of money to bankroll players here and there, like some programs are doing. I don't know if Michigan State's asking for that right now, but they will be asking for money in other areas. So NIL, they're, the collectives they've stepped away from those collectives. They were always independent of the university, but they've become even more, they basically shut down the collectives. So you're asking me what's going on with NIL. Maybe I'll talk to Jay about it at some point, or maybe he can come to me and tell me what's going on with that. But right now, Michigan State, you're probably a booster. I don't know. Maybe some are. The big ones are hearing from them, but the rank and file fans, I don't know if there's a lot going on there. Like I saw after Vanderbilt beat South Carolina, you saw a lot of social media where they were hammering their donors. Hey, we just won a big game. We need more. Passing the hat. Is that the way it's done these days? I don't know. Arkansas's athletic director was talking this week saying that there's 4 lanes and there's 3 lanes. Everyone's going the speed limit. Then on the 4th lane, they're going beyond the speed limit. He says at Arkansas, we're staying in here doing the speed limit. They talked about that on the new Heisel show, and they're like, well, I don't know if that wins. I don't know if those people are going to get caught. I don't know if the clearinghouse is going to have teeth. I'm not sure. A lot of this stuff changes every few weeks. I don't have the answers on that one. Question 11, Desert Sparty from Phoenix says, Comp, are they going to utilize the infamous sleep bank this weekend? Sleep bank. I've not heard about a sleep bank. Rossi was talking a little bit about that, saying on the flight out there, he's going to try to take a nap because he's more of an early to bed guy, but he's going to try to take a nap on the flight so they can stay up later and get his clock situated that way. It's a situation. It's a problem. It's not going to be good. Question 12, Sparty's, this is from Sparty in Pawleys Island, South Carolina. He says, hi, Jim. Curious if you knew anything more on the Alante Brown injury. Just wondering what kind of drills they might be doing in warm-ups to cause a longer-term injury like this. Seems like we've had more than our share of injuries the last few years. Anyway, it seemed like Brown was finally carving out a role for himself. Sad to see. Yeah, he was injured during warm-ups. Rare. I remember seeing Mark Renaud blow out his ACL in practice. That's back when we were allowed to go to a lot of practices. And he just was making a cut, and his knee blew out. I don't know if that's what this was, but you can hurt your knee with nobody around you. And I didn't see what happened, but it certainly is sad for him because you're right, he was making an impact as a kick returner. Last question, 13 from DWS in Troy, Michigan. He says, what read do you get from the staff on the readiness of Chase Clarizio, the freshman running back, to contribute to the run game when he's healthy? What read do I get from the staff? Not hearing much. Jonathan Smith was asked about it after the last game, and he said he thought he'd be, he said, we thought he'd be right in this thing, but then he had these injuries. So I'm not sure. He's missing time right now. He's been missing time. So when you miss time, you're missing time also on pass protection sharpness, which is something they work on, but he's missed a lot of reps and, probably some mental reps on that too. You can take mental reps in the huddle on the practice field, still not the same. So the longer he's out, the harder that deal is for him to come in and make a big contribution. But I think he's got the talent to do it. Plus, he's got an ability to do it in the kickoff return game also when he gets a chance. So that's going to be it. We appreciate everybody checking in. Did we wait? We got one more. We got one more we have to do. Stay tuned for this one right here. New sponsor, BetMGM, people. BetMGM. I meant to do this earlier. We'll do this earlier as we get going. For the people at BetMGM. All right, it's a sponsor with the On3 Network. If you have not signed up for BetMGM yet, there's a big bonus code that I'm going to tell you about, so stay tuned on this one. Use bonus code ON3, that's ON3, and you will get up to $1,500 on your first bet. That's on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. 1, download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code ON3. That's ON3. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to a $1,500 bonus in bonus bets. You receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code ON3 when you sign up. So make this college football season one a legendary one for the history books. Make it legendary. BetMGM, check out that app. I got some disclaimers for you, but see betmgm.com for terms. You can see all the information, some of it here. 21 and only, U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY in New York, or call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino Hotel. Also, don't forget, if you have not signed up for BetMGM, use bonus code ON3 and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. All those disclaimers, if you listen to the Andy Staples show, they list off all the disclaimers also, so we have to do that. And, of course, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And we appreciate the people at On3 that set up the sponsorships. We certainly want to support those people as well. So anyway, that's going to do it. Appreciate everybody checking in. SpartanMag Live this week. We will see you next week, maybe even on Thursday if we get a hold of Mubi, and head down to Los Angeles. USC will be covering that one. Go to SpartanMag.com. Paul Konerdijk with a couple of stories here on Michigan State basketball recruiting. You want to go check that out. And continued coverage at SpartanMag.com, the way we've been doing it since the beginning of the internet. Appreciate everybody checking in. Be good to one another. We'll see you next time.